The world's not real. Nothing's real. Like the shit I learned on TikTok. You know, if you take something and you rub it in a corner, it'll fucking stick. Like, say your bed's in a corner. You know, I'm at the hotel. Bed's in the corner. Bam. Remote. Just, like... Toilet, bam, tissues. Like, it's not being held up by nothing else. Like, I had a whole ass jar of weed on the wall. What the fuck is real?
Probably. The idea behind the simulation theory is that none of this is real, and what we're actually experiencing is a kind of computer-generated simulation. And before you jump to the conclusion that there's no way you would fall for a simulation, your brain doesn't see, doesn't move, doesn't feel. You have body parts that collect that data sensory, which your brain then translates so that you can have an experience. Even though this technology is kind of crude, it doesn't take much to trick your senses into thinking that you're about to fall, for example. People like to put the odds at about 50-50, because we can't prove that it's true just as much as we can't prove that it's not. It could explain a couple of things, like the arbitrary speed limit of the universe, which is the speed of light, but also maybe the Mandela effect, which is a collective false memory, named after Nelson Mandela, who for some reason a lot of people thought was dead for decades. Some other examples are Looney Tunes, Pikachu, and I don't care what you say, I still call it Jiffy. Solipsism is the philosophical idea that you are the only one can be sure exists, because you can't remove your mind and put it into someone else, so how could you prove that everyone is as real as you? Most of my friends who work in IT, for the government, NASA, SpaceX, most of them believe we're in a simulation.
So in this video, you can see me grabbing a lemon, right? I cut it in half, and then I cut it in half once more, right there. You can see me cut it, right? I go get a bag, okay? I grab the bag, I go back for the lemon, and I grab the lemon, and I touch it, and I'm like, why is it not cut in half? In my face, I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like inspecting it, I take it out of the bag, I grab this lemon, trying to see if I cut that one, I recut the lemon, because the lemon wasn't cut anymore. I'm freaking out because the lemon was not cut in half anymore. It was literally intact. And you can see me in the video cut the lemon in half. There was a glitch.
Proof we're living in a simulation.
Haven't got a lot, I don't need a lot.
What the hell? What is that, Mom?
What?
Ma, you see this?
No. Holy shit!
What
What
is-
the hell is that?
What is
Photos that prove we live in a simulation.
You think we live in a simulation? Well, you're right, and I have proof. I was driving near Area 51, and then something weird happened. Do you see that in the distance? Like, this is crazy. The map is literally loading as I'm driving. I guess Elon Musk was right. If you don't believe, now you should.
Trees are blowing everywhere, the wind is very strong, and the clouds are just sitting there. So, I don't know, guys. Don't the clouds look pretty fake, though? Look how fake that looks. It's just sitting there in the sky, you know, in the same spot. Windy as hell. Clouds aren't moving.
We live in a simulation.
It did not render yet. It has not rendered yet. Bruh, it looks fake.
No way everyone here is a real person. Life is a simulation and a legitimate professor has proved it. James Gates, a theoretical physicist at MIT with 2 bachelor degrees and a PhD, found literal computer code embedded in the most fundamental building blocks of reality called strings. Now, string theory is a tough one, but I'm gonna break it down for you in a way that an 11-year-old would understand. So if you don't get this, hey, go back to grade 5, bro. Alright, so we got my boy Einstein's theory of general relativity, which is basically just a theory of everything big. Planets, gravity, the universe, all the way back to the Big Bang. Then we got the new kid in town, quantum physics. This is the theory of everything small, like particles, atoms, and molecules, where the general laws of physics like gravity don't apply anymore. The same is true the other way around. Quantum laws don't apply to regular-sized physics. So we got general relativity, everything big, and quantum physics, everything small. Like, yo, dig. But both of these realms have the same parent, the Big Bang, at which point everything that is now big used to be small. If the small can become big, then quantum and general relativity need some sort of theory that can unify them. That is string theory. What happens to the big when it's small? What happens when you zoom into an atom? You see protons and neutrons in the center with electrons all around it. Now, what about inside a neutron? Even smaller particles called quarks. So how deep does the scale go? Conventional science will tell you there's nothing inside these quarks. But string theory suggests there's a tiny filament or a string of pure energy that exists inside of them. And just like the string of a guitar vibrates and creates different sound based on its shape and tension, the strings in string theory vibrate. But instead of sound, they produce matter in the form of particles. This completely changes the way you look at the world. Every particle in the universe is just a string vibrating at a different frequency, and every vibrational pattern has its own associated particle. So if you break anything down far enough, we're all just energy vibrating at differing wavelengths to form matter. Although it's still just a theory, this would link general relativity to the quantum realm and form what is known as the theory of everything. Okay, yeah, cool. Now where is this computer code found? When Dr. James Gates took a look at a set of equations derived from string theory, he found binary code. Error-correcting code used for compressing data on a computer. A sequence of ones and zeros, the same code that is used by popular search engines, which, according to him, who has a PhD in theoretical physics from MIT, doesn't just resemble computer code, it literally is computer code. Meaning, if we break matter and energy down far enough, we eventually find compressing computer code etched into the very fabric of reality. So, who wrote this code? Are we living in, dare I say, a simulation?
You're probably already aware that the word bed actually looks like a bed, and thus taller people would have to sleep in beads. But did you know that if you take the value of pi, which is 3.14, and you hold it up to the mirror, it actually spells pi?
Alright guys, you want proof that we live in a simulation? Take a look at this clip where a basketball player literally glitches.
Oh, that's funny.
Balls being read.
That's nuts. I don't like that.
I feel fucking creeped out, mother. Oh
my god!
Is the Earth actually just a simulation? There is a theory that humans are actually way more advanced beings, living in higher dimensional worlds, and that the Earth is actually a training ground, being used to prepare us for the impending disaster in the real world. It says that once the training is completed, we will pass on from this world and join the fight for humanity, even though there are many examples of us living in a simulation. And you can watch the full video by clicking on the link in the description below. Why?
So we're in a storm right now.
Bro, what in the fuck? A glitch in the Matrix? The motherfucker is just floating there. Dead. There's nothing around it. Just floating there. What the fuck?
Matrix is multiplying things.
So I bought this bralette at a Goodwill probably about a month ago. It's my favorite bralette. I took it off last night, got in the shower, went in there this morning, and there's 2 of them in my bathroom. Mind you, I only bought one of these, and I bought it at a secondhand store at that. Where the fuck did this one come from? What in the glitching fucking Matrix is this? Like, they're the exact same brand, same size. I mean, they even have like the same wear on the inside. Like, what the fuck?
This theory, basically we're living in a simulation. It's called simulation theory, where the scientists kind of made this theory that a more advanced civilization could potentially have created a simulation that we're currently living in. Which is pretty fucking frightening if you ask me. However, the funny thing is that there's only one way that we could even know and even tell that we are in fact in a simulation, and that would be if we could observe some sort of glitch in the Matrix.
A simulated universe, Riz. Why do we feel pain? Why do we have emotion?
Well, some people will say that if they were to design the universe as a simulation, they wouldn't have any of those things. The problem is, Indy Jones just got the map at the beginning and it said, here's the Ark of the Covenant, go get it. Well, that doesn't make for a very interesting movie. And so when we design video games, we have to create levels and achievements and quests of increasing difficulty. And so, you know, the pain and the disappointments and the suffering that are there are built into the game, I believe, as obstacles or challenges for us to overcome as we level up.
We're all living in a simulation. This blowtorch wasn't connected to the gas cylinder, so how's this possible? It's literally impossible for this to happen. There's no explanation. This building didn't load properly and a big chunk of it is missing. This liquid is called glyphosate and it looks like an animation when it's being poured. And no, this is not slow motion. Before I show you the best one, I just found a way to prank your friends by spam texting them at maximum speed. Try it out by pressing here on my profile, then press spam text your friends. This police car glitched halfway through the ground and got stuck.
Kids that every middle school has. I don't care where your middle school is, you have these 3 kids. Kid number 1 is sleeveless shirt kid. I live in Minnesota and it can legitimately be negative 40 degrees out. Every middle school I've ever worked at has shirtless sleeve kid. He's a legend. Student number 2 that every middle school has, pajama pants girl. Pretty self-explanatory. She wears a very large instrument case, but they're just banging into everything. I can just hear them coming down the hall, just scraping it down the wall, knocking little kids over, dropping it in a crowded hallway, using it as a large baton to assault their friends with. There it is, 3 kids that every middle school has. You can't convince me otherwise. That's my ultimate proof that we're living in a simulation. Somebody's just copying that code from school to school. Those kids exist everywhere.
Like, what is going on here? The moon is not... Like, if I put it there, the moon's there, right? Over here? Wait. Where's the moon? Recorded sky. It's a fake sky. We're in a simulation.
Proof that we're living in a simulation.
We're living in a simulation.
proof reality is an illusion. It's more probable our world is fake than that it's real. First, I'm going to start with the proof that our reality is real. What proof do you have? The only proof you have is that it seems real when you touch stuff and live here. That's it. Quantum physics says everything simply is a waveform. Everything is a wave function, existing is pure potential. Nothing exists until you observe it. So when nobody's observing something, then nothing exists. Everything is simply pure potential. That's what the science says. We also know that matter is 99.99% empty space. Quantum physics shows our reality is an illusion. Black hole physicists also show reality is an illusion. When they tried to take calculations of a black hole, they couldn't do it when they used a 3D volume. They had to use a 2D volume and then it worked, which leads to the holographic principle that everything happens on the boundary of the black hole, and our world is simply a holographic projection of a 2D surface. That's what the math says. Neuroscientist Donald Hoffman, in The Case Against Reality, with his interface theory of perception, says that our reality has simply evolved to help our species stay alive. That's it. Everything we see is just an interface, an icon to help us survive. There's an objective reality, which we don't see, and the interface, which we do see. As if everything we see is the desktop on the computer screen, hiding the ultimate truth of reality, which is the hardware, the code, all that stuff. This reality is here to help us and guide us. It's much easier to drag an icon to the trash can to delete it than to do literal binary code yourself, but it is an illusion nonetheless. In a spiritual take, in conversations with God, if you look at something, you will see right through it and any illusion it holds for you. Your spiritual text, A Course in Miracles, reality brings only perfect peace. When I am upset, it is always because I've replaced reality with the illusions I made up. And in this case, note reality is connection to the higher self, consciousness, energy, and the illusions are our current world. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality and thus regard reality as an illusion. On a biological level, our optic nerve condenses billions and billions of bits of information into 40. There is no chance we're seeing objective reality. We're simply just seeing the 40 bits of information our optic nerve thought was the most important. Our subconscious does this too. Our subconscious only lets us see what is familiar to us, not objective reality. Light, sound, and touch all happen at different rates, but our brain hallucinates a reality that they all happen at the same time for us. There is no chance on a biological, physical, or spiritual level we are seeing reality. There's no chance, no evidence points to that except the world seems real. But as we know from quantum physics and spirituality, our instincts are not to be trusted. The good news is that we create this reality, and so we have the power to create one we desire.
As it stands now, evidence keeps building to support the theory that we live inside of a simulation. Over the course of this video, you'll hear a lot of evidence, but what might be more troubling is the lack of evidence against the simulation theory. Evidence that proves the universe is in fact real. In fact, we can't currently prove that all of this isn't a simulation. New York University philosopher David Chalmers doubts it's possible to prove that we don't live inside of a simulation. He says, you're not going to get proof that we're not living in a simulation, because any evidence that we get could be simulated. Meaning, if the simulation doesn't want us to know something, we aren't going to know it. Interestingly enough, the probability of us living in a simulation versus reality has actually been calculated. Thanks to David Kipping, an assistant professor of astronomy at Columbia University, we currently sit at 50-50 odds. One half that this is the baseline reality, and the other half that this is not. Kipping goes on to say, the day we invent that technology, and that technology being the ability to create simulations ourselves, it flips the odds from 50-50 to us almost certainly not being real, according to these calculations.
Celebrities and their coded scripted lives. Look at this. Kobe Bryant lived for 497 months 3 days, in which 4,973 is actually the 666th prime number, and in gematria helicopter equals 666. Quite creepy, but it only gets creepier. Because remember, Kobe had that 666 workout routine also, and his infamous record-breaking 81 points in one game came in his 666th career game, where he scored 66.6% of his team's points. Do you see how they use these numbers? This is the way they manage to operate so smoothly. It's nothing but rituals, and as you can see, ritual equals 81 in alphabetic order. His 666th game, he scored the record 81 points. Now I want you to see this. Maradona was Kobe's idol, and they were both taken away with the same numbers. But lastly, I want to show you that he was 41 years 157 days old when he passed, where his name equals 41 and 157. This numerology system is simple. Each letter has a numerical value. This is a real practice too. Men lie, women lie, but the numbers don't.
The idea of the universe being a simulation is not a new one. Theories exist in ancient cultures around the world. Modern simulation theory comes from Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at Oxford who wrote an influential paper on the subject in 2003. Assuming that living in a simulation is possible, Bostrom presents the simulation trilemma, which says one of the following must be true. 1, we destroy ourselves before we're able to create a simulation. 2, we're able to create a simulation but choose not to. Or 3, we are definitely in a simulation. Bostrom believes each of these is equally likely to be true. Now, I don't think that's controversial. We use computer models to study the human population, predict the weather, for entertainment. We simulate everything. And when a civilization can create a realistic simulation, the most obvious one to create is that of its own early existence. Bostrom calls this an ancestral simulation. And a civilization that can do this wouldn't just create one simulation, it would create many. And those simulated civilizations might create their own simulations of the universe, and on like Russian nesting dolls of reality.
Now, you're a character in that world and you think you have free will, and you say, I want to invent a computer, so you do. Hey, I want to create a world in my computer. And then that world creates a world in its computer. And then you have simulations all the way down.
When Elon Musk was asked what he thought the chances were that our reality is the original base reality,
the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is a little more conservative. He thinks the odds that we are in base reality versus a simulated reality is 50-50. A 50-50 chance that everything we experience is artificial, that's still pretty high. And even though we mostly hear what scientists think about this, it's not scientific theory. Simulation theory isn't math, it's philosophy. It isn't physics, it's metaphysics. So what we need is hard evidence that we live in a simulation. And to find proof, all you have to do is look.
Human beings keep going. We definitely will create a simulation. It's just a matter of time. So if that's the case, how do we know that we're not in one already? And we really don't. Every day we go to sleep, and every day we wake up, and we assume and we have faith that all that stuff that we remember is really how life went on before we were awake. But we really don't know. According to probability theory, it's more likely that we're in a simulation.
Maybe that's true.
You're assuming that all of the stuff that you know and all the stuff that you experience is 100% real. We are within 100 years away from making something that's indiscernible from what we experience every day. And that's inevitable. Unless we get disrupted by nature, unless we get hit with an asteroid or start a nuclear war, it's inevitable that technology reaches a point where simulation's possible.
So you know how Elon Musk always says, we are living in a simulation? I want to explain to you what he means by that. The deeper we study the fabric of this universe, the more that physicists are discovering that this universe is literally made up of binary code equation, binary code. The same codes that are used to write Google and browsers on our computer. Guys, this reality is literally made up of zeros and ones, like a video game. This is coming directly from the theoretical physicist Sylvester James Gates Jr. He is very well known for his work in superstring theory, supersymmetry theory, and supergravity theory. This implies we were created with code by someone conscious. And this also implies that what about the video games we create? There is a theory that people in The Sims will actually become sentient in as little as 8 years. What makes you think people can't hack the code? Hence, glitches in the Matrix? Elon Musk, the people who created the Matrix, even people who have near-death experiences all understand this. You are living in a video game.
Watch this.
He's already been here. We've been watching a recorded sky on playback. Hello, Rick. Okay, guys, change of plan.
Have you heard that the universe is probably one big computer simulation? And that there are actual numeric cheat codes to hack the simulation? Before I give you those codes, let's see what other people think about this. Elon Musk has said that we may be living in a simulation. There have been tons of articles published about the topic, and even Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks there's a very high chance that this is just a simulation. Now, if this wasn't a simulation that could be hacked with codes, why would the CIA be using this code right here, 55515, to stop or reduce pain? Pause to read. Obviously, none of us really have proof, but with all the Mandela effects, deja vu, UFOs coming down from the sky, and all kinds of other crazy shit that's going on, why wouldn't you just go with it? I have cheat codes, and I'm going to give them to you right now. So there was this guy named Gregory Grabovoi who came up with, I don't know how he came up with it, don't ask me, I'm not him, but he came up with these numerical codes to hack the simulation that could help you manifest pretty much anything. There are also things called divine healing codes. So if you need to manifest better health or you have some health issues and you want to try some simulation hacking codes, look up divine healing codes. So Grabovoi came up with codes for things like money, entrepreneurship, which is kind of like money, fame, health, all kinds of stuff. Pause this to read and maybe take a screenshot. And here, this thing right here, the 369 method, supposedly really powerful. This is what Nikola Tesla swore on, 3, 6, and 9. Because he also knew that the universe was a simulation. So what do you think? Are we in a simulation? Have you ever used these cheat codes? Let me know in the comments.
Transportation show that we're in a simulation. Okay, so we know buses are huge and cars are not as big. Like your wingspan can probably reach both sides of the car, but for buses, they're super long. You could probably lay across and not touch one side or the other. So basically there are 2 seats on this side, 2 seats on that side, plus an aisle. But on the road, buses are almost the same width as SUVs. This car is a sedan, but you can almost see that it takes up the whole road. But this is the inside of the SUV. There are arguments that basically buses sit on top of the wheel, which is why there's more width to them. But when you look inside the bus, it's super big. And when you look inside a car, it's not. So are we in a simulation?
Found it. You found it.
Sorry?
You found it. This is the most beautiful that Westminster's ever looked. I've literally walked past here over 1,000 times, and in the light from today, I've never seen it look so beautiful as now. We live in the Matrix. I'm certain we live in the Matrix. I'm certain I live in a simulation. So I actually think this is a simulation. That cannot have been a human. That can't have been a human. That can't have been a person. It was like a script was being read. Yeah. It's like, yeah response. Yeah. Guys, I don't know. Sometimes I really wonder whether this is the real world. Either way, give me a call and I'll help you find it within yourself to laugh at these situations when you might as well cry.
Okay. You have your purse? Your phone's in here.
I'm crying.
Your phone's in here. What's happening?
It hurts so bad. Oh my god.
Someone explain this.
How much are we playing for now?
All right, there. Look at the ladies behind her. A blonde lady.
I see her.
A black lady with a white thing, and a black lady with a red in her hair. $1,000 each. And she goes back here.
And what category?
Now?
You choose, Kelly.
Well, no, everyone's gone. Now the blonde lady's gone. Now I have a lady with a red shirt, and now I have a lady in a crappie top over there. The ladies have totally changed.
Words that can describe this artist.
How does that happen in one little... And let's try one more time. For the last time.
Kelly, how much are we playing for
And blonde, black lady, another lady.
And what category did you choose, Kelly?
Well, there are a lot of words
Totally
that can
different
describe
people.
this artist. singer, songwriter, producer, actor, entrepreneur, philanthropist, but we only know him as one name. Usher!
One of my favorite people on the planet, Usher. We about to have some fun. Song number 1 for $4,000. DJ Kelly Cal, hit it!
Crazy.
Questioned whether our reality is a computer simulation. Known as the simulation theory, this captivating concept suggests that our world is a meticulously designed virtual creation by an advanced civilization. This idea challenges the very core of how we perceive reality, sparking profound inquiries into our existence. While not new, the simulation theory has regained prominence due to rapid technological advancements. Some experts argue that the universe's intricacy and the precision of physical laws could parallel a programmed algorithm within a simulated environment. Nevertheless, vigorous debates persist, as skeptics emphasize the lack of concrete evidence supporting the theory. Others posit that even if our reality is a simulation, it needn't alter our way of life. We should proceed as if it's genuine. Ultimately, the simulation theory underscores the unquenchable curiosity that propels humanity to journey beyond familiar horizons in the pursuit of knowledge and insight.
Just like the movie The Matrix, I think it's kind of crazy how it could seem so real.
The movie's accurate.
I think it's very accurate.
It's very accurate. I mean, it's the truth right in front of our faces.
Yeah.
Like, it's fake, guys. Our bodies are like avatars, you know what I mean? Like, this is not real. Like, this world isn't even real. We've been lied to about everything. We don't know anything. We don't really know the truth about the pyramids. We don't know the truth about, you know...
people going to space.
Yeah, we don't know the truth about anything.
Nothing.
Flat Earth. We live in a dome. Hello? Even the Bible says we live in a dome.
I know we live in a dome. It's so obvious. I feel that they control the weather, everything. I don't think it's real. I don't think it's Mother Nature anymore.
Live in a simulation? Do we live in something similar to the Matrix? The theory that we live in a simulation is a fascinating idea that has gained popularity in recent years. It suggests that our reality, as we perceive it, is not actually the base reality, but instead a computer-generated virtual world, similar to a video game or a highly advanced simulation like in the movie The Matrix. One of the most well-known proponents of this theory is philosopher Nick Bostrom, who argued that if advanced civilizations with sophisticated computing power exist, they might have the capability to create realistic simulations of ancestral life. Since there may be many more simulated beings than real ones, it is statistically more probable that we are living in a simulation rather than in base reality. To support this idea, proponents often point to the exponential growth in computing power and virtual reality technologies. They argue that if we continue to advance in these areas, it is likely that we will eventually create simulations indistinguishable from reality. If this is true, then it becomes increasingly probable that we are currently living in such a simulation ourselves. There are many videos floating around the internet that claim to be proof that our reality is not as it seems. Videos such as planes frozen in air, what we call a glitch, where we will see a person appear out of thin air or something similar to déjà vu. So what do you think? Does this theory hold any weight? Or do you think it's something highly unlikely?
This is called the double slit experiment, and it proves that we live in a simulation. When you're not observing something, it doesn't exist. It's a wave of possibilities. It's like a video game. It hasn't even rendered in yet. As soon as you observe it, that's when it becomes solid matter. Nothing is real.
Since the photons travel one by one, some through this slit, some through that slit, you would expect them to leave a pattern of two stripes on the wall. And you would be wrong. They mysteriously create a band of stripes. This is what you would expect to see if a constant beam of light shined through the two slits. It would spread across the wall like a wave. So how can single bullet-like particles of light create a wave pattern? This could only happen if the particles go through both slits at the same time. In other words, the particle is in two places at once. But strangest of all is what happens when you put detectors next to the slits. When the photons are being watched, the wave pattern disappears. Take away the detectors, and the wave pattern comes back. This suggests that we can change the way reality behaves just by looking at it. Does this mean that reality itself is not real?
Simulation.
I mean, my heart says no, and my brain says yes.
Elon Musk.
Living a simulation, do you think it could be true?
It makes sense to everyone, especially as we see virtual reality and computer games getting more and more complex. The thought experiment of, do we live in a simulation? Am I a brain in a vat that is just being given electrical impulses from some nefarious other beings so that I believe that I live on Earth and that I have a body and all of this? And the fact that you can't prove it either way is a fantastic way to introduce people to some of the deepest questions.
Simulation, but we're jumping from timeline to timeline. The universe is universing. It's weird. November didn't happen. Do you guys remember anything from November? Because I don't. December flew by. What's going on with the time? Like, seriously, what is going on? Because I've never felt so disconnected from reality and connected at the same time, but also very disconnected. So if anybody wants to help me, because I don't know if this is a spiritual awakening that I'm going through, or if the simulation is just glitching, because I feel like it's glitching.
Imagine that you kick the bucket tomorrow and then it was all over. But then immediately you wake up again and you're not in heaven or hell or any other form of afterlife. You're actually in your bed. Seems pretty unlikely because A, I'd like to direct your attention towards The Sims, and B, as Simon Whistler puts it,
civilization sort of has a around and find out attitude when it comes to, you know, pretty much any scientific advancement.
If one day we reach the point where we are able to create a simulation and actually do so, it all but guarantees we are already living inside one, and then you have simulations all the way down. But how does creating a simulation in the future mean that we are probably already in a simulation now? Think of it like a Russian doll. You have base reality, and then the first level of the simulation. You leave the simulation long enough, and one day they too will invent a computer and a video game, and one day they too will create a simulation. So either we are first in line, or we are last in line. But because there is only one real physical world and unlimited potential virtual worlds, the odds you find yourself in base reality is almost zero.
No, because let's talk about it. This is exactly what it looks like. And listen, I never bought into the flat earth or any kind of theory except for the fact that we are a globe, just like NASA told us. Until I started talking about conspiracy theories last month, and a bunch of people kept telling me that we live in a firmament, in a dome, that we live in a dome, that we live in a dome. And then I started noticing all of the little coincidences in all of the TV shows like The Simpsons and The Hunger Games, and literally everything talks about that we live in a dome. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, now it feels like that is the only thing that makes sense. And so now I keep getting tagged in videos that show. So first of all, I got tagged in this video. Look at the ring around the sun. Now everybody's gonna say, oh, it's just because of your camera lens. Okay, stop ruining the vibes here. If you don't like it, keep on scrolling, because we're having a great time over here talking about these conspiracy theories. Okay, so let me show you some more stuff that I've been tagged in. That didn't look like a reflection of the firmament. Again, could have been the lens, but I'm gonna go with the reflection of the firmament because that's the more fun theory. So then I decided to go outside and take a video of the sun, and this is what I gathered. Okay, I would like to point out the reflection from the light from the reflection. Like, I don't know how to say it, but there's the light and then there's another reflection. I don't know how to explain it, but like, doesn't this not look like we just live in a fucking firmament? Like, look at it. Look at the little reflection right there shining from the light, and then there's like another reflection over here. It's suspicious. Here's another one I got tagged in. Tell me we don't live in a fucking dome, guys. Tell me we don't live in a dome. Look at this shit. Look at. Here's another one that got sent to me where the sun kept changing shapes.
Oh,
look, it's a woman shape.
That was weird. I'm gonna zoom back out. Oh, what? What? Okay, I'm gonna zoom back out. Okay, I'm zoomed all the way out. We're gonna zoom in slow. Okay. Okay, we're at lemon now. I don't know, is this just our cameras? What the heck is that? A completely different shape. How does this happen?
And now this one looks super computerized. And yeah, it could be because of the camera so far away, but it really looks like a fucking TV sun or something. It looks like a hologram, literally. And then they're zooming in slowly. And look, this sun is very yellow and orange, but look at it. Tell me that doesn't look like a fucking screen. I can't. I'm telling you, we live in a fucking matrix. None of this is real.
Might be evidence that we live in a simulation.
In 1940, a pair of twins would be adopted by separate families. Let's start with Twin 1. Twin 1 would be named Jim Lewis. Jim Lewis would own a dog which he would choose to call Toy. As a schoolboy, Jim Lewis would enjoy math and carpentry, but hate spelling. Jim Lewis would go on to marry a woman named Linda. Him and Linda would divorce, and Jim Lewis would then meet a woman named Betty and marry her. Betty and him would then go on to have a kid of whom they would name Alan. Alan would grow up, get a job as a security guard, and be an avid smoker. Now get this. Twin 2 would also be adopted. His adoptive parents would also choose to call him Jim. So Jim Springer, while he was growing up, would get a dog of whom he would choose to name Toy as well. Okay, this gets weirder, so just bear with me. So as a schoolboy, Jim Springer would enjoy math and carpentry, but hate spelling. Jim Springer would then go on to meet a woman named Linda, marry Linda, that marriage would fail, he would then get a divorce, and then guess what, marry a woman named Betty. I'm not making this up. Betty and him would have a son, and yes, they named that son Alan. Alan would grow up to be a deputy sheriff who would also be an avid smoker. Now, it would be later in life when the twins finally got to reconnect. Scientists who studied twins would look into this case a lot. Specifically, they were trying to answer the age-old question, nurture versus nature. But if you're asking me, there's just way too many similarities. It's just creepy. If you want to hear more stories like this, remember to follow.
It is more likely than not that you and I are living in a simulated universe, a simulated world, a virtual reality right now. It suggests that we're not even really here. Our bodies are here, and we're experiencing through these bodies. It suggests that we may actually be projecting into these bodies from somewhere else. Some very, very well-known scientists are now agreeing. Physicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, he says, I think the likelihood that we are living in a simulated reality may be very high. He says the odds, from his perspective, are 50-50, that our entire existence is a program on someone else's hard drive.
And a string of
It looks like a blackbird, but it's not moving.
That's a dead bird, and it's just floating in the air.
The bird. And BC Hydro says power lines would not cause something like this.
Someone else taking a picture.
It's a mystery, leaving many people puzzled and questioning, what could it be?
simulation. This is an actual simulation. What we've done now with the video game No Man's Sky, it's got 80 quadrillion worlds in there. It's a never-ending game created by 12 college students, fits on one DVD, and they're going to add AI into it, which means that the beings and the animals and everything else in there, they're going to become conscious. Also, the other video game, The Sims.
Yeah.
The Sims, they're talking about adding consciousness to The Sims and adding AI in there. So eventually these Sims are going to start asking questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? What is this that we're living in, this construct? Is there a Big Bang? Yeah, the Big Bang is when we hit the power button and turned you on. That's the Big Bang. That's when everything went out. So, you know, they can then maybe even begin to write programs in the Sims program to create their own universe. So there's multiple layers of reality. I don't think we're even close to